Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris and Ben and Milton here for Outer Rim Transmission, episode 141, your weekly Star Wars podcast, where we talk about the news, we do reviews, and this week we are getting into our last week before the release of the final season of the Bad Batch, so we are talking all about predictions, speculation, our last-minute theories, plus there's some really cool gaming news and much more on this week's episode. Milton, we didn't see you last week, so how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. I know we had the Super Bowl last week, which is why I wasn't able to do it last week. But I'm glad to be back to talk some Star Wars. I know we have the Bad Batch coming up, so it's going to be some normalcy, let's hope, when it comes to getting back in the groove of reviewing Star Wars. But glad to be here.
Oh yeah, it's been since, when did Ahsoka end? Like October or something like that. So it's been a bit since we got some good old Star Wars reviews, but the seal has been broken for 2024. Ben, how's it going?
It could be better, but I'm at least starting to feel better from last week. As our listeners probably heard, I was pretty sick last week, and I'm continuing to improve, so that's a good thing. And then I'm just excited to get back to talking weekly Star Wars, like you said, Milton. It's going to be nice, like getting back into that normal swing of things, and good, bad, or ugly when it comes to like Star Wars shows. I would much rather be reviewing a Star Wars show every week than just us having to come up with a random topic, because it's fun, like talking about the latest Star Wars content with our listeners or with people on X or the YouTube comments or wherever. Like, it's always a great time, talking and breaking down all these new pieces of all these new episodes of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, there's a great point to be made with that, because some of the funnest conversations we have on the podcast are those weeks where it's like, okay, I'm waiting till the last hour to have any kind of notes to talk about. And it's like, okay, let's just throw this topic out there because we got nothing else. And sometimes it spawns some really fun conversations. And, you go like 10 years between the prequels and the sequels where there was literally no movies or anything to review other than like Rebels or something. So there's lots of examples where it's good to have the both. But in this case, we are getting into the meat and potatoes of the Star Wars fandom, which is talking about new content, just on the verge of getting there. So we're going to get into all of that this week. For those of you that are new, we go live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the latest Star Wars commentary. We also are available in any podcast streaming app of your choice, mainly Spotify, mainly Apple, and those both have platforms where you can review us, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star review or 10-star review or whatever their metric is. Just give us a positive review to be a part of a positive Star Wars community here on the channel. I'm going to open up to you guys. Do you have any cool Star Wars things of note in the last couple weeks to talk about? I think last week we kind of just jumped right into it without talking about our week in Star Wars. But here we go. We'll open it up to the forums. I don't know, Milton or Ben, if you have anything to speak of.
For me, the only thing I really did Star Wars wise since I was sick was just I listened to a little bit more of the secondhand A Thrawn book, and I was just doing that while I was like laying there suffering. But I listened to a couple more chapters of that book here and there, and like that was kind of like my shower relaxation thing. I would listen to that in the shower before I went to bed each night, just because like I was like, man, I can't go this entire 2 weeks of being sick without literally like consuming no content of any kind. So I just listened to some of that audiobook, which was great as always. But I mean, other than that, I've had no weeks in Star Wars just because I've been sick. But yeah, always enjoying a good audiobook.
Yeah, audiobooks. I'm thinking of listening to Dark Disciple. I know I wanted to read the book before Tales of the Jedi, or not Tales, Bad Batch came out, but hey, what's to say that she doesn't show up like halfway through the season? So there's still time, and like I said, that's Spotify, I have Audible, so there's ways for me to listen. Milton, have you been listening to any Star Wars lately?
I mean, I listen to some old documentaries that I still check out on a random occasion. Um, Sometimes it's been the what's the one that came out a couple like 10 years ago? Empire of Dreams. Remember
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
documentary?
Hmm.
excellent.
Yeah. So I like listening to that one, and actually I put it on my phone, so when I sleep at night, I can listen to it. It's one of my favorite documentaries, and obviously I've talked about the History Channel one that they've done like 15 years ago. Um, so when it comes to Star Wars this week, nothing crazy, but normally it's some type of documentary that I listen to, or I listen to like a book when I go to bed. Honestly, there really hasn't been a focus on Star Wars lately. Honest to God, what has been my focus lately has been wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Because like your boy's prepping to go to Mania in
When is
like
that?
60, like 50 something days. That's
Oh wow.
April
The
6th and
countdown.
7th. Yeah,
That was me
so
with
it's
Celebration
in,
last year.
You're
yeah,
gonna be seeing
so
The
like,
Rock
oh,
most likely.
listen, your boy can't wait. Like I know, and here's this is ties into Star Wars too, just because we have Star Wars Celebration and how that's a big thing globally. WrestleMania is global and is just as popular as Star Wars, maybe even more because it's been around longer. But WrestleMania is a thing. It's a weekly, like it's gonna be a week long, maybe 2 week type thing, but
Whoa.
it's built up to like 6 7 months. Just like with Celebration, how they have like the convention type thing. WrestleMania is kind of like that too. You get to meet the former wrestlers, current wrestlers, Hall of Fame, 2 nights of WrestleMania, indie shows. So, and again, this ties into Star Wars because it's a thing that we all celebrate. We celebrate Star Wars, and when we go to the celebrations and those Comic Cons, we celebrate wrestling when we go to WrestleMania and these conventions. So it's like, again, I'm excited for that, but I would love to go. And I just told it to my girl the other day. I said one of my things in life is that I would love to go to a celebration someday. Just like one of my goals in life was to go to a WrestleMania someday. So again, my next thing in life would be to do a Star Wars celebration, hopefully on the East Coast that's affordable. So I would love to make that happen eventually.
Yeah, I have a strong feeling that 2026 we're going to see it in Orlando. I really feel
Yeah,
strongly about that
which would be
because
perfect. Which would be perfect just because I mean I have people that live in Florida,
mhm.
and I'm sure I will drag my girlfriend to Orlando with me. I'm like, you're going to do this
Yep.
because this and honestly, and it's funny because she talked about this. She says, ever since her and I we've been together, there are things that she wouldn't have got into, prior to me dating her. But like Star Wars is something that she's gotten into. Not saying she loves it. She doesn't mind watching it when I watch it or talk about it. And
Hmm.
I try to explain to her the whole WrestleMania concept. I'm like, listen, Star Wars Celebration is kind of like that in its own capacity. So like if we went to something like that, I think she would then understand, oh, this is what it's like with the fandom. Because she just hears me and her brother-in-law talk about it, and obviously our podcast. But if she sees what we're talking about in that capacity, I think it would change her perception or perspective of like, oh, this is a real community. This is a big deal, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you got that in April. I'm going to PAX East next month in March, video game convention in Boston. And I've never even been to Boston before, so I'm looking forward to just taking a train up there and just exploring all the historic parts of America up there. So looking forward to that. And apparently a Star Wars currently video game developer is going to be on the floor, and that is the people that are making the Eclipse video game. Quantic Dream is going to be there. I really highly doubt they're going to have that Star Wars game to show there, but wouldn't that be something? Or at least I'll try to pick the brains of any developers like, oh, what can you tell me about that Star Wars game you guys announced like 3 years ago? So, as far as for me with my week, it was really like last week since we really have time to talk about it. There's a really cool Shadows of the Empire fan film being made, all animated. And when I first seen like the little thumbnail pop up, I said animated, like, oh, it's gonna be, that 2D. But no, it's actually like video game animation. And that's coming soon. I don't know if there is a date on it. I believe it's a Kickstarter, just, searching YouTube, just Shadows of the Empire. I know Milton, you checked it out, you liked it, and it was pretty cool just
Yeah.
seeing those characters. You see a really good animated job of the HUD in there. And you see a really cool like Luke Skywalker with like that different vest he had on, and Shadows of the Empire with the speeder bikes, and Tatooine, and Boba Fett is talking, and he sounds just like Tamora Morrison, and it's just like this could actually be pretty entertaining. So that for me is pretty cool. I'll be keeping my eye on that one there.
Yeah. No, and it's funny you should bring that up because I really enjoyed that whenever you sent that to me. I think it was you who sent it to me when that popped out because I was like, yeah, this is dope. And I would love to get more animation of those stories that we won't get in the actual main continuity of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just how we got that episode 3 fight animation style of Clone Wars, but to give us this, man, the animations never do me wrong, you know, and I just really enjoy that these fans who really they have no ties to Lucasfilm. They're really putting their heart and soul into this. I mean, even you got people like Star Wars Theory, who does his own like little movies for 30 minutes and putting his own money in. It's like, wow, like the creativity, the love, the passion that they got. It's like that's what's so great about this community. That's what's so great about Star Wars fans.
Oh yeah, that's one of the big things. Even going back to like the Lucas era, Lucas, at the old, old celebrations back in the day, basically, they would have Star Wars fan like film competitions at the old, the old Star Wars celebrations in the early 2000s and stuff. So,
I forgot about that.
You have stuff like that going clear back to those days, and then even earlier, before the podcast, when I was on Instagram, I was just scrolling, and I'm sure you've seen the edit before, Milton, on there, just scrolling through Reels. Someone went through and animated the end of Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin's on the operating table, and, they animated it Clone Wars style, and literally, I kid you not, it looks just like, Anakin from Clone Wars, from our animated Clone Wars series, and they animated the entire ending sequence of like Palpatine saying like, "Lord Vader, can you hear me?" and like that whole thing of like of Anakin, and you even see the helmet put on him and everything, and it's like, holy smokes, like the fans putting these edits together and stuff, and it's like it's just crazy to see their talent, and like this Shadows of the Empire thing is just another example of it. Like I think we're going to get to a point, guys, personally, with technology, with the Star Wars fandom, with the way like things are progressing, like AI wise and special effects wise, I think we're going to get to a point where like, you could potentially go and like, say upload an entire book and it just spits out visuals. I think within, however many years, we're going to get to that point where someone could like upload, say, the original Zahn trilogy, boom, and it spits out an entire 3-hour movie of that or something.
Well,
like I think we'll get to that.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt, Ben, but it's funny you bring it up because literally, and again, I guess it's always part of my week in Star Wars, I guess, when I'm always at the gym working out, but I always like to listen to some type of like Star Wars audiobook when I do cardio sometimes. And so, how like you have the audio drama from like the 80s, whatnot. So there's someone that it's online. I forget what it is. I have to send it to you later. But he has turned the audio dramas into like a comic book.
Nice.
Like it's like a 4-hour like.
Oh, that's really book. Cool.
It's the same audio, but it's just animate. Like there's animation pictures with it, and it's like, damn.
Well, that's perfect for even just setting it on the treadmill or something,
Yeah, because you're just like, that's what that will look like. Even though we know the movie, and they just make it different, stylish, but it's like, oh, that's kind of dope. So, I'll have to send it to you guys later, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there you go. AI in Star Wars could be a slippery slope. Only time will tell. Well, but yeah.
remember, I sent you guys those 3 clips from the Prism YouTube channel with the AI when they said, what if episode 7 or 8 was good? Do you remember those I sent to you?
Yeah.
Like, and that was all AI. And it's like, bro, like, how dope would that be?
Jeez.
I'm just like...
Oh, man. So getting into the show proper, out this week, quite a few releases, including something else that came out that's on the screen for you to watch right now. That's the rest of the Young Jedi Adventures Season 1. Episodes, I think, 20 through 25 are now out, which completes all of Season 1. Very enjoyable show for the younglings.
Let me jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Should I? God, I can't even want to ask this.
Hmm.
Should I at least try to watch it? Because today I was watching Disney Plus a little bit today, and I was watching the Marvels for the first time, and I saw it pop up on my feed. Should I watch a little bit of that Young Jedi's, whatever it's
Were
called?
there any episodes
Milton,
you
you wouldn't
recommend,
like it.
Chris?
No, Milton, you would
Huh?
not like it. This is why, because we are not the target demographic of this. Now, if you're sitting there with your niece, I think you would really get a kick out of it, right? Like if you're sitting
Mhm.
out there with your niece or nephew or your sons or anybody out there, sons, whatever, granddaughter, whatever, you're gonna get a good time out of it. But don't go and expecting this is a bad batch, right? This is
Hmm.
aimed for kids, Y7 or whatever, right? It's not gonna give you like these really awesome moments that you would expect from the tentpole animation of Lucasfilm, but it's really good. If you're sitting there and you're babysitting or something, yeah, turn it on. It's like, oh, we're watching Star Wars, and at least the kids are learning something because they do have valuable lessons, I feel like, in all these episodes. But yeah, I've watched it, so you don't have to put it that way.
That works for me. Listen. I don't want to waste nobody's time, so that's what I'm
Yep.
asking.
Yeah, yep. Speaking of wasting time, I went and seen Madam Web this week. Yeah, total waste of time.
Oh God, I heard that was bad.
Yeah, don't
First
go
of all,
watch
I saw your post, okay, and I think I laughed at it when actually like when I did the laugh emoji because I was like, yeah, I heard this movie's not good.
Everybody I know personally that have went and seen that movie, have all texted me. Mind you, I have a relative who's very casual. You know, they're like, "Oh, hey, a superhero movie's in theaters. Let me go check it out." And they went and saw it, and they texted me, and their exact words was, "What the hell was that? Like, that was a god awful movie, and I wasted my $10 in popcorn money." And I was like, "Well, that's why you should at least glance online."
Hey, I'm a Marvel completionist. It's gonna kill me in the end, I'm sure, but I'm giving my due diligence to the community, so you guys don't have to waste your money again.
Yeah, good to know.
But yes,
Occasionally,
yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. We also had comic book releases that are not actually wastes of money, such as High Republic Adventures #3 and Darth Vader issue #43. Me and Matthew Neugebauer over on the Star Wars Underworld channel break down those in great detail, as we always do on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, just check out the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel for all that stuff. That show is actually called The Tractor Beam. And getting into it, speaking of High Republic, this came out to us the news on Valentine's Day of all days. We have the synopsis and the cover reveal for the High Republic novel, part of Phase 3, the next big adult novel written by Tessa Gratton, and that is Temptation of the Force. It's just in time for Valentine's Day because on the cover of Avar Chris, you have Elzar Mann, which looks like they might be some Jedi in love in this book. We've had references and nods and a little bit of hints here and there throughout the last several books that there was kind of a love triangle maybe going on between them and Stellan Gios. So it looks pretty much like it's going to go into that. A very dark book, features a lot of characters. The really cool thing that they say in the synopsis is it does revolve around Naboo. And funnily enough, this book is coming out in the first week, I think, of June, which is just around when Phantom Menace is going to be in theaters for the re-release for May the 4th. So everything is gazing upon the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, even when it comes to some of the books. So I'm looking forward to this one. I know Matthew over there at Tractor Beam is looking for this one. So yeah, I will certainly let you guys know how this book is when I finally get my hands on it in June. Our big story that came out of the blue is this Star Wars video game idea. And this makes a whole lot of sense. So this comes to us from a reputable source, Tom Henderson. He's from the source over here at where is it? InsiderGaming.com. Respawn is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game. This is exclusive. So Respawn Entertainment, a very big arm of EA Games. They are also one of the studios that worked on Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. So you have several teams that comprise of Respawn. Respawn made their name, made their fame off of Titanfall. And then they made Apex Legends. So there is a team currently working on Apex Legends. There's a team working on the next Jedi game in the trilogy. there is a team working on a strategy game with the help of another developer called BitReactor, and Respawn is also working apparently on this first-person shooter game. We knew they were working on a first-person shooter game for a while now. I believe that one of the OG people from the original Battlefront was working on this game. And now, thanks to Tom Henderson's due diligence and his kind of digging into the community here, he has found out that this is actually a Mandalorian game. It really excites me because they're going to be using elements from Apex Legends and Titanfall, which is the best movement in an FPS you'll ever have, whether it be the jetpacks, whether it be the wall running, which is like their marquee kind of gameplay mechanic they put into all their games, even going into Jedi Survivor, the movement, the platforming, very much taken from Apex Legends, but put into a third-person action adventure. So the way they're describing it is with your jetpack as a Mandalorian, you're going to be able to like do these sweeping horizontal thrust and kind of like going forward, left, or it's going to be very mobility focused. It's going to be single player based. It's saying it's going to be set during the Galactic Empire. Tom did not give us a specific character. He literally just says it's a Mandalorian, so we kind of run the numbers here. Who else is around during the Galactic Empire? Yes, it could technically be Boba Fett. I guess it could technically be Din Djarin. Or it could just be a completely new character, but I'm going to throw this over to Milton. What's your reactions on a Mandalorian video game?
I'm about it. Like, if it's look, you guys know my reputation with the games. It's up and down. However, with what I've seen with the Fallen Order games, I only played the first part of the first one. I know you guys say the second one's great too. I'm seeing an up and up. I'm seeing that, they're doing it somewhat right. They're getting us back to where it used to be. Hopefully it's a great story. We all agree here. If it's a great story and we're invested, we're going to play it. Facts. It's a character that we love. It's a show that's popular. It's a show that really has pulled in another fan base with that Grogu reveal back in season 1. And I think we all would love to see this type of game because we haven't really had one in a while with this type of character. I mean, we were promised 1313 back in 2012 or whatever it was, or 2010. So, like, if it's something around that aspect, I'm all about it because I was actually very hyped to get 1313 when that was looking to be developed because I thought I was like, oh, it's a different concept. It's not a Jedi per se. It's underground, underworld, that type of stuff. Same with, Mandalorian, I assume that will be the same type of concept. So I'm all about it. Give me a great story, great gameplay. And you guys understand more of the developers than I do, but if it's a developer that you seem to trust, that seems to have a good reputation, then I'm all about it.
These guys don't miss. Respawn, they've literally had one bad game, and that was their Medal of Honor VR game for the Oculus Rift and Oculus Quest. And that's a whole nother animal dealing with virtual reality. So as far as I'm concerned, they haven't missed as far as like a good console game. Going back to Apex Legends, the Jedi games, this is probably going to be a home run, I would imagine, because you go back to Titanfall 2, Ben. And Titanfall 2 has arguably what people in the community, the hardcore gamers say, Titanfall 2's single-player campaign is the best shooting campaign ever made. Bar none. So
I think I remember hearing about Titanfall. I think I bought my my friend's dad. It was the first one back in the day.
Yeah.
I think he really liked that one.
It was so awesome. The idea that you are these pilot characters, it's also a first-person shooter, a pilot character, like a little grunt guy, but then the idea that you get to fight against and alongside these gigantic mechs, and at any given time you can call one down, get inside of it, and immediately like the gameplay completely changes because you're just hulking behemoth just wrecking havoc across the landscape. And then as you're a pilot, you're able to jump through houses with your jetpack. You're able to wall run across these walls, and it's just super fluid, super flashy. If you play Apex Legends, it's got all that DNA baked in. So right now, if you're wanting to know what the heck this game could be like, go play some rounds of Apex Legends because it's going to be very similar to that. So Ben, what's your thoughts on a Mandalorian game?
Yeah, I think it for sure could go over really well just based on the time period we're in, with the hype of the Mandalorians in general, whether it be Boba, Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, etc. Like, you have all these Mandos running around. and like depending on when this would release, like it'll be a few years, so it might, who knows, it might release alongside like the Dave Filoni movie or something. Say if it's in 28, maybe potentially then. So you have that, and then of course, like with it being during the Galactic times, that's still like Din Djarin could still be that character because we meet him in Mandalorian and he's a bounty hunter when we first meet him before pre-Grogu, and presumably he's been a bounty hunter before that as well. Like, and this show's only taken place 5 years after Jedi, so it's like, that would be the galactic times they would be referencing. So like Din Djarin for sure could be could be the lead, and then of course like Boba Fett could be as well, because like it could be Boba Fett easily. I could easily see Tom Henderson knowing it would be Din or Boba and just not reporting it and just playing semantics with it and saying Mandalorian video game for now, just because like you don't want to go and report it too early as Din and then they switch it over to Boba at some point in development. So like there's that, and then of course like there's the option of a potential new character, but then that could potentially open cans of worms. So I'm interested to see what they do with it, what the missions are, and I think it'll be a really fun game overall, just like mechanically, like like you said, the jetpacks, being able to fly around and shoot and like pilot. I'm sure you'll be able to have interesting piloting mechanics for your ships and speeder bikes and things like such as that. I'm looking forward to the game whenever it does come out. I mean, we'll probably be on like PS6 and Xbox something or another, like who knows. So either way, when it comes out, I mean, I'll definitely be looking into it, that's for sure.
Yeah, so my little speculation here is I really don't see it being Din Djarin, only because we've seen how they treated anything related with Mandalorian. They just don't want anything done with that character until their story is told. Remember, we were supposed to originally get a novel by Adam Christopher for The Mandalorian, and I'm pretty sure that Filoni and Favreau were like, no, you guys can't make that. We're still making this. And they canceled the book. And then Adam Christopher went on to create the awesome, The Shadow of the Sith, which was an incredible book anyway. So, but yeah, I just feel like that's their baby. They're not going to let anybody handle them yet. So I really don't see it being Din. I would like them to see what they've been doing great with the video games is give us a new character. Every character they've developed so far, whether it be Iden Versio, Cal Kestis, these guys have really hit the fandom hard. And like you're seeing these characters become so mainstream now, and they're just so loved because the video games, say what you will, but they've been treating, at least when it comes to the single player games, they've been doing a great job, Lucasfilm Games and everybody's story group involved, with really threading these characters into the larger world and the larger lore. And there's a sub-faction of the gamers for the Lucasfilm Star Wars fans like myself that are just diehards because they just love and get attached to these characters. So I would love this to have a sort of Lost Star feel in a way where maybe you're playing a new unnamed character, but they are talking to Din. They are talking to Bo-Katan. They are having these really cool interstitial spaces, maybe set between events of The Mandalorian, or actually it's going to be before, but I could still see them like encountering Din, encountering Bo-Katan, encountering Boba Fett along the way. And it just give this guy or this girl some really cool armor, whatever. I know people are pining for this to be like a Republic Commando, which would be like when you think of first-person shooter narrative game, that's the first thing you think of for the old games, right? That's our big game, other than Dark Forces. By the way, we're getting a remaster, I think, in like next week or something like that for that game. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm just happy that we're not going to try to shoehorn in another multiplayer live service game here. From what his report says, it seems like this is just straight linear-based narrative game. And there's something special about that, because as somebody who's playing through multiple games that are like 100-hour plus games lately, it's like kind of daunting to be like, oh, here's another game I'm going to sink 4 or 5 months into. I like these kind of quicker, snappier, especially FPS shooter stories are usually not that much longer than 8 hours. So, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of replayability in this kind of game, different challenges and things like that. And I'm sure the cutscenes, the cinematics are going to look incredible. So yeah, I'm excited for this. We'll hopefully get an official announcement. Remember, this is just a report, everybody. Don't take this as gospel. But this guy, Tom Henderson, is usually pretty right when it comes to stuff in the video game industry as of late. So yeah, there you go. Unless you guys have some other comments, we're going to dive right into our Bad Batch story. But first, we got this interesting report. This comes exclusive from the direct.com. Basically, it seems like in this interview, they were talking to Brad Rowell and Jennifer Corbett, and they're basically saying, this is Brad Rowell, I will say that not all of the answers to the mystery of interest will be told in the Bad Batch show. There may be future answers down the road in something else. But it was really great to have that character in our show, to interact with our characters. It was really cool. And that's regards to Asajj Ventress, as we've seen, just appearing in a trailer to everybody's complete surprise. Like, huh? So that's interesting. He's out there saying there's probably going to be more content with Asajj Ventress. Maybe another book, maybe a comic book. Heck, maybe she'll appear in another series. I know, Ben, I think you and I were talking about maybe what could be coming next after Bad Batch. So I just find it interesting that the creator is already out there kind of spreading some breadcrumbs around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great that they're like forecasting that already. Also, that does also mean, I don't want to be like a cynic here just because I'm sick, but I don't want to be like cynical about it, but that also probably means like maybe the way some of the episodes play out, like they don't play out like story-wise perfectly. So like, maybe like, maybe the way some of the episodes play out, they come off choppy and then they don't readdress those questions at all in the season. Like it makes me think they're going to maybe put toothpaste out of a bottle in the 4th episode and then just never go back to it the rest of the season or something. Like, so that's the only thing like that concerns me a smidge about that, is just like, oh no, is this just like kind of covering your bases because you left something out there and then you're like, well, crap, we didn't get to address it, so let's just put a statement out there so we, kind of cover our butts. So like that's my only concern about that. But like on a positive side of things, yeah, I mean it's good that we know some storylines could potentially continue in other series or books or mediums and things like that. Like who knows, maybe like with the Ventress stuff, like maybe she gets involved with the Mandoverse because like obviously like Dave Filoni. So like maybe there's that potential, like that she gets involved, because we have so much stuff with the Dathomirian witches and whatnot.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So like maybe, we get some sort of live action Asajj at some point, because, remember folks, we have an Ahsoka season 2 coming still with, obviously Thrawn and the bad guys are on Dathomir. So dude, there's that. So like that's what makes me think is like maybe on the good side of things, like maybe we see like an Asajj in a Dave series, or even if they do like a new flagship animated series.
Ben, they name dropped her in Ahsoka episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they name dropped her.
Or 7. So the fact that they name dropped her is already credence to be like, hey, we're letting our live action audience know that one of the animated characters is pretty important. So maybe you should look her up on Wikipedia or something.
Yep.
So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, got to give it to the series for just doing awesome callbacks. Count Dooku in Mandalorian season 3. It's not as adventurous. Like just great little breadcrumbs. Yeah, Milton. What are you going into Bad Batch hoping to get from Asajj Ventress?
Her wrecking people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she better be. Here's the thing, because like sometimes with we're used to seeing a character who's OP, or like who we saw like that was, for example, Boba Fett. We've always saw him being a badass. Then what they did with him and Boba or the Book of Boba Fett, they kind of depowered him, which makes no sense. I don't want that for Asajj Ventress because every time she was on screen in Clone Wars, she was a threat. Even though she could be goofy sometimes, and well, she really wasn't much goofy. Let's be real here, but she could have her quirks. She was always a threat to Obi-Wan and to Anakin. Like they struggled with her every time. So I don't want it to be to the point where we see her and she's kind of pathetic because I feel like that's not. I feel like that wouldn't be consistent for that character. Even though I could see her making some changes, I still feel like she would still be a badass and very much a threat to anyone that comes across her. Even if she fought Palpatine, and we all know she would get wiped by the floor, but we would still think, man, she'd be a potential threat with how badass she is, and she's very persistent. So I'm hoping that we don't get much character change per se in the sense of how powerful she is. I wouldn't mind see her making growth in the sense of where she's going from being a hardened war veteran to someone who's probably want to get away from all the bullshit and just like, hey, I want to live my life. But yeah, I just want to see her in a place where she's recognizable, but also slightly different too.
Yeah, I like what you're saying when it comes to seeing where she is in this point of time, because that's what the Bad Batch does really well. Is it shows you that it starts with Order 66, and how do the characters move past? What do the clones? It's been, a lot of it is what do the clones do after their orders are finished? What's their purpose? Oh, they're just going to be decommissioned, and the Stormtrooper Corps is going to be the thing that's up in front and center, and you get to get in there with Senator Chuchi and find out that they have rights, and they're going to, try to put this motion into the floor about them getting actual recognition in the entire galaxy as people that need support and all this sort of thing. So yeah, translating that over to Asajj Ventress, one-time Sith acolyte, next she's a bounty hunter. Where are we going to find her now? What's her purpose now? That's the big question going into season 3 here.
Right. No, I agree. I think that, look at real life. Look at war veterans who, on the good best side or bad side, there's going to be some type of post-traumatic stress. There's going to be some type of mental health disorders that they're going to have to deal with because they saw a lot of trauma, a lot of things that they've seen. So I hope they bring that element into this because she was a separatist. And maybe she did realize, hey, maybe the separatists wasn't the good guys. Maybe she saw that the Republic was kind of right, but then saw the BS in that too. Obviously, with Palpatine taking over, maybe she is dealing with some of that conflict. But I just don't want it to be where we kind of dismiss what her character was before, because she was doing some off the wall stuff when she was working with the Separatists. So, does that make sense? Because it's easy for us being fans to be like, oh, that's Asajj Ventress. Now we like her because she's quote unquote a good guy. I'm like, wait, what made her a good guy? Like what did she do to redeem herself? What did she do to make us fall in love with her now as a hero or anti-hero? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and the idea, as you just put it really well, got me thinking about her as a separatist. And there's not many separatists left of the high command, right? You got Anakin killing them all at the end on Mustafar. There, Grievous has been long dead, right? So there really isn't any big separatist character. Dooku's been dead. So how does she fit in with this new regime of the Empire? What's she thinking about being a prior separatist? Separatists, by all good and means, they're basically going to be the new rebellion at this point. They're part of the rebellion.
Was she really a separatist though? Think about that. Was she really a separatist? Because I don't see her actually falling into those ideals. I think she very much fell into the Jedi did me wrong. Because I remember, wasn't she her upbringing a Jedi originally?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see her saying, this is the reason why I joined the Separatist cause, because of the Jedi. I don't really have the ideals of a Separatist per se, but the things about the Jedi is what I didn't like, how they did me dirty, X, Y, and Z. So I want to hope they tie in some of that too with her change and where she's at here as a character.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, looking back on it, she's probably saying, okay, the fall of the Republic, the fall of the Jedi, the rise of Sidious and the Sith. But she's got to be thinking, wait, something ain't right here. How did this all happen? Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm still salty with the Jedi, and I'm glad they're gone. But, again, maybe she's just in a different headspace. I don't know. But you're right, though.
Yeah, yeah. So, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I agree with both of you guys. on your points with her. Like her character is going to be interesting to see, like, you know, where the headspace is, what her mission is, who she's working for. Because you know, right now, like we don't know based on the trailer like who's she working for, or even like what location is she at. Like you said, Chris, is she working for the Empire potentially? Like, because you know, we know what happens with her at the end of Dark Disciple, and we don't know what happens with her between then and now. And it's like did they recover her or something? And like she's kind of like pseudo working for the Empire at the moment. And like, you know, how does she get integrated into this story? Is, you know, is she going to be a character that goes and like they have to seek her out to help find Mount Tantus, to find Omega? Like, are they going to have to do that? Or is it going to be like if she's working for the Empire, is she going to be kind of your pseudo Sabaoth role where you know they had Sabaoth guarding Mount Tantus? Is she going to be like a guard for the Empire at Mount Tantus? You know, where Omega is. Like, are they going to is that going to be the role for her? Like, because the thing is, her role, like, I don't know where exactly they're going to be able to fit her into the story.
Yeah.
Because it's either she's got to be working with the Empire and she's pretty much a guard for Omega, or she's going to be the person like the Bad Batch has to seek out to find, to like how to get there or whatever. Because, you know, maybe, you know, I mean, obviously, like this being such a high profile location for the Empire, you know, it could be like your Exegol type situation. Maybe like only certain people have heard of it or something. So, you know, they have to seek out Azaj because she was part of the Separatists and all this stuff. So like maybe she knows and blah, blah, blah. Like,
True.
So I think those are kind of your main routes of getting her involved into the story, because like that's the thing is like she's not involved with this story, you know, where we left off from the last season of Bad Batch. So it's just like we have to get her integrated into the story to begin with.
Yeah, getting into our predictions proper, Milton, what is the number one thing you want to see or get out of this season of the Bad Batch?
It's a good question. I think the biggest thing, and this would tie into any point I would make, is consistency. I want this season to be consistent. I think season one, from what I remember, we were always upset about the whole Sid storyline. How that would like we build up momentum for 3 or 4 episodes, and then Sid pop up and just bleh. Then we build up again, and then Sid. Bleh. We don't need to see her much. I mean, maybe a cameo to see where she's been. Maybe one episode. But I want consistency in the sense of focus on the Bad Batch themselves. This is the final season. You can't waste time. I say this to anyone, whether it's a mini-series or a final season. You can't waste time on developing characters and moving the story along. So I want a consistent story of where the characters was since the end of last season to where we're going moving forward. And I want an epic finale that's going to say, oh my God, where are they going to take this next chapter of Star Wars? So if we're consistent all the way, I'm good. I think another thing I'm looking forward to is the expansion of the story itself. Like, because you know they're not going to be done with the animated series in general after this. Like, what other series could they could tie this into with new characters potentially? So I want to see the potential of that.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I think the action. I want to see some really badass action. I think this show. I think the Clone Wars, I think Rebels, and I think Bad Batch has done a really good job at action sequences when it comes to Star Wars for sure. I've never been consistently disappointed with the action sequences in all the animation. So consistent storytelling, expansion of the animated series, and the action.
Yeah, let's hover on your consistency, because I really agree, and I didn't think about that, but I looking back at last season, the season before, we don't want to hide the fact that some of the episodes we were pretty disappointed by, just because we had all this good momentum and then we just lose it. So the idea that you're saying, character development, at this point the characters have been developed and they did a good job of last season of really fleshing out these characters. Crosshair was a one-dimensional character in season 1. Guess what? Season 2, I think all of us agree he's in like our top 2 or 3 characters we actually care about the most out of this entire series. So they've done a great job in just the 2 episodes that he starred in last season to get us up to that point of caring about him. So you're in the final season. There should be no more character development, which means it's going to be all, all killer, no filler, so to speak. Big stuff there. Ben, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much my feelings, is like my overarching feelings for the season. Like, I just want it to be, good consistent story, good consistent action. Of course we'll get a few fillers probably. Like, we have 16 episodes, I believe. So, like, if we could just get, like, this is my thing. This is my ratio for episodes. If we could get like a 4-to-1 split where we just get if we get 12 episodes of good and 4 episodes of filler, I could take it. I could take that. Mm-hmm. Like, give us, literally 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, boom, or however you split it up. But like, just do something like that, and then fans wouldn't have any issue with it. Just because, those little filler episodes would be good, just little palate cleansers leading into the next arcs, kind of like how Clone Wars used to. You'd have your arc, and then you'd have kind of like a wacky episode, and then it would be to another arc or something. So like, you'd have, like, hopefully we get just something like that, like more like a good balance, of more good than not. And then, like, for me overall as well, just like looking at the season as a whole, I just want some, give me some interesting stakes for the characters. Like, I'm interested to see, like, if any of our characters actually do get taken out, just because of like the lightheartedness sometimes of the Bad Batch. Like, do they go there finally? Like, because we've seen so many like stun weapons and things this season. Do we see them go there and take out a hunter or take out a wrecker or like one of those guys? Like, obviously we're not going to see them like get gunned down, I don't think. But are we going to see them like go out in like a blaze of glory, like a ship exploding, like, doing some heroic thing or something or another?
Ben, we kind of already got that with Tech.
Well, yeah, I would say we got that with Tech, but yeah. Like, because like my thing is we haven't really like we finally saw that with Tech to a degree. Yeah. And it's just like, I want to see that a bit more, because like Omega keeps learning these lessons, but then like kind of going back on these lessons, or like these lessons aren't like meaning too much. So I want to see them like matter to her character more. So I'm interested to see them in that regard. So Ben,
would you mind if they did it like a Rogue One style of going out?
Yeah. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
That's what I would prefer. I would prefer a Rogue One-esque style, which I could easily see that. Like, you have Wrecker, you have the different character tropes to fit that even. And then like, with Omega, like, they're not going to kill a kid, so she'll escape somehow. But like, I'm interested just to see what they do with the adults, because like, I guess I've talked myself more into it, but maybe they all do get taken out, just because it's like, the thing is with all these Star Wars shows, whether it be this show or Rebels or whatever, like, we keep introducing all these characters, and then like, I don't like to be that fan all the time, but you keep introducing all these characters pre-OT, and then it's like, okay, wait, if these characters are so important, why were they not at the Battle of Yavin? Why were they not at the Battle of Endor? Why were they not at the Battle of Hoth? Like, so you have all these point. like that. That's my only thing when it comes to these types of pre-OT shows. It's just like you're introducing these. Yeah, you got to kill them off. So I feel like I've talked myself more into potentially maybe more of these heroes getting taken out.
Well, and here's something too, because this goes back to, and I see this argument all the time, and I didn't think about it until obviously later after the show came out. But the Reva thing, like, Reva knew that Vader had a kid and never said a word. Yeah, like, let's be real here. One person can barely keep a secret. 2 people, you know what I'm saying? Like
against the biggest guy in the galaxy.
Yeah, and it's like she never let it slip, and she's still alive somewhere. Yeah, that's where it's just like, But that ties into your point, though. It's like, you got all these important prequel or post-prequel characters that are alive and kicking. Now, let's look. in any war. I mean, look at World War II. I'm sure there's World War II heroes and villains that survived post World War II and that went off to go live their life and didn't really say much or trying to hid from the from being spotlight. I get that. However, that's real life, so that makes sense that they would hide away and avoid people. This is Star Wars. You gotta tangibly tell the audience what happens to these characters because again, like, because our logic is going to be, well, why is this person around then if they're not going to like be a part of the story or the main, continuity? Does that make sense? Like, they got to do something with them. So
I expect they do what they do with Rebels maybe and do like some kind of coda or epilogue maybe sequence at the end of the last episode. Says, oh, and Wrecker went off to do this, and Omega did this, and that'll lead into whatever the next series is, perhaps.
That's a good point.
Yeah, as far as for me, go ahead.
I will throw in there, though, I do hope, because like we talked about before, Chris, they've had a lot of times, these shows are always in the can, or the plans for them are in the can already. Hopefully by the end of this show, by the end of the credits, they just go, boom, boom, and it's like a title of a new show or something, a new show previewed.
No, I think they're gonna wait like 2 days and do it on May the 4th. Because it's literally ending on like May 1st or 2nd.
True.
They would like that. They'd rather hold, and by that point, people would have watched that episode by then, so it wouldn't have gotten out by then, right? Because those people would have the chance 2 or 3 days to watch it, and then you're on May the 4th. You're sitting to watch your showing of the Phantom Menace, and you check your phone, and it's like, hey, there's a new series announced, and it's gonna be pretty cool time to pop off as a Star Wars fan. But as far as for me, I don't have I have a pretty specific event that I hope happens because I was hoping this would happen at the end of Camino, and all signs are pointing to an actual clone trooper uprising. I want to see clones killing stormtroopers. I want to see Wolf. I want to see Gregor. Heck, I even want to see the guy that was on Ryloth that was serving under Champ Syndulla. What was his name? Something with an H. He had like the cool hair everybody always talked about online.
I can't remember.
The guy, that guy. Have all the clones there. Have Echo, have Rex, and have like this Lord of the Rings magnitude-esque event at Mount Tantus in all its glory. And all signs are pointing to that happening. I was losing faith that it would at the end of season 1 after they destroyed all of Camino, because if we go back into Legends, I think it's in the Battlefront 2 game, Ben, from back in the day, where there is a clone uprising on Camino, which is pretty cool.
You play as the Empire and you go and wipe out the clones.
Wow.
Yep. That's literally the mission. You go in, and part of the mission is you literally go into the part of the Camino cloning facility where the tubes are, and you literally blow them up. You blow up the whole conference rooms, you blow up all the cloning areas, you blow up the lunchroom, all that stuff. You literally wipe out the Camino facility completely. So, I would love to see that too, Chris. That's a really good point to be brought up. To see the clone uprising, and even, hopefully, since we've already seen him once in action, Scorch, it'd be cool to see. I've said it ever since we had the concept of this Bad Batch show, but man, I would love to see the good Republic Commandos versus the bad bad Republic Commandos versus the Bad Batch, just because it's it's your good versus bad commandos fighting each other. I would love to see that included in this clone uprising. Okay. And like you said, it's probably going to be Mount Tantus is where the fight's at.
This was actually funny you say the Republic Commando, because in this same report about Sal's ventures maybe appearing in other things, this comes from Corbett herself. As for whether or not that might happen in the final season, according to her, you'll be seeing Scorch more. She literally says, well, for the Bad Batch, you'll be seeing Scorch more. But as for other Republic commandos, I can't really say. But there are so many stories to tell in Star Wars, so I'd say nothing's out of the realm of possibility for future content. David Collins worked on it. She also says, I will say that our sound engineer, sound designer, David Collins, also worked on Republic Commando and is a big Republic Commando fan. So there are more than sounds from Republic Commandos all throughout the Bad Batch. So it seems like there could be other characters. Maybe Boss shows up. I don't even know the other character names off the top of my head, but you probably
7 Fixer.
Okay, well there you go. There's all 4. So I think they'll all show up. And I think that's what will happen. I think the Empire probably could get the upper hand on the clones, and then Wrecker and a couple other guys get out of there with the skin of their teeth kind of thing, and to fight another
maybe.
day.
That's something to point out, guys, too. Now that we're talking about, like, say, the ending of the Bad Batch, say this is all taking place on Mount Tantus and everything. I don't think, if anything, like our good guys will win. If anything, maybe a couple of them just escape, like, Omega and like maybe Hunter or something, or maybe they just like tell Omega to escape or something. Because the thing is, the Emperor still like continuity wise, like he has to like get his hands on some of these cloning related things, and like potentially like this technology could be at Mount Tantus. Like, I mean, obviously it wasn't Legends, but like in this show, even in canon, like Mount Tantus is clearly important to the Empire. So like maybe the Empire just holds them off and this location stands.
Yeah. And one last prediction I hope we see is just more about the significance of Omega, more about her, why she's special, why did the Emperor want her. I'm sure we're going to learn about all those, Force God Blue Gook things with related to Exegol. But yeah, that's about the predictions. We want to know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about your predictions for the Bad Batch Season 3? We're just a short couple days away, and you guys can stay locked here on Starrapter YouTube channel for our reviews every week at Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, starting with the 3-episode premiere. I don't have the titles off the top of my head or on my notes, but yeah, you'll be here. We'll be here to talk about them next week. Milton, it was so great to have you on this week. Where can people find you?
Yes, like I said, I'm glad to be back. And before I tell people where to find me, so the premiere, the Wednesday, is that at night or is it releasing in the morning?
I'm assuming it's in the freaking morning. I was really hoping by now they would tell us it's going to be out at 9, or maybe everything is just out at 9 these days and they don't have to report it especially. But I'll be refreshing at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, hoping it comes up.
Right. Yeah, I'm just curious about that because it'd be an animated show. Because then I remember, I think Tales of the Jedi, did they release that in the evenings, I thought, or no?
No.
I couldn't remember. That's the last animated show that I remember they did. But I don't know. But it'd be kind of nice to make it like an event for this last season.
Yeah, it would be.
We'll see.
It would be.
But no, they can find me on, I guess, X at Milton Weber 7 or on Instagram at Milton 7 Weber. Usually on either platform, I'm posting something funny. Nothing too crazy. Usually on Instagram some workout videos, but yeah, hit me up on social media. I like to talk Star Wars, wrestling, or whatever that's positive. So yeah, hit me up.
All right, and Ben.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at RealBenMaynard, talking Star Wars and fitness and no football now for several months. And then you can find me on Instagram at RealBenMaynard as well. And, mainly just talk fitness or share like some classic nostalgia memes because Instagram is just full of nostalgia bait. So, yeah.
Yes, and you can find me here on the YouTube channel of Starrapter. You can also find me on X at Starrapter. You can find me on my place where I do my writing, my blog, starrapter.substack.com. And as like I said off the top of the show, you can catch me next Wednesday. I'll be talking comics, but we'll probably have a few words to say. I would imagine me and Matthew have one comic to talk about next week. Star Wars issue number 43. So yeah, we're going to definitely talk about Bad Batch. I'll make them talk about Bad Batch with me because we'll be fresh out of watching that episode. So yeah, for my initial reactions on Bad Batch, go ahead to the Star Wars Underworld channel and check out Tractor Beam at 9 p.m. Eastern over there on the Star Wars Underworld channel. But make sure you subscribe here so you can catch us next week on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern talking about those very episodes. Hopefully our wishes come true, and hopefully sometimes it's nice to be having our expectations subverted. So whether or not, keep an open mind, speculate responsibly. But that's gonna do it for Milton, for Ben, for Chris, Chris aka Starrapter, for everybody that joined us in the chat room. We'll see you next week. Goodbye everybody. End transmission.